Hi everyone, today I wanted to show you another really beautiful endgame study. This particular one comes from Dr. John Nunn. He produced this particular endgame study in 1978. For those who don't know, Dr. John Nunn, he was a very strong British Grandmaster. He played in many Olympiads for the England team, and yeah, he was probably, I would say, maybe in the top 20, top 10 in the world in the 70s. So really strong player. Still produces books, some fabulous books even to this day, and definitely an author worth checking out. Now, this particular one is very interesting as well. It shows I guess, the power of a knight and a bishop in an endgame in dominating black's pieces. Now, when you look at this position, it looks a little bit tricky because it looks as though black is going to be promoting one of these pawns, and it's very difficult to just go after one of these pawns. So, for example, one of the failed solutions in this is, okay, I'm going to take this pawn with my king, right? The reason why is, well, after the pawn comes to b2, it's very tricky. It's very tricky to survive this position. You could maybe throw in some checks, but the king goes here, and there's just no way of stopping this pawn from promoting. So a very tricky endgame study, this one. So see if you can solve it. As I say, it is white to move and to win. So see if you're able to do that. Okay, so the solution to this starts with the move bishop to e3 check. And, well, there's a few different lines that black can play. But just to show you one failed solution, if, let's say, he comes to g7, then a simple way to win this would be then to take this pawn. And if, let's say, the black pawn starts to try and run down and try and go for a touchdown on b1, well, unfortunately, he'll be met with this fork. So this is a failed position for black. So going back, other ways that don't really work here. Well, let's say the king comes to h5. This is the other forcing move. Now the knight can come to f4 with check. And wherever the king goes, even if it takes here on h4, we can then capture this pawn here with check, and after the king moves, well, we've got a few good solutions here, a few ways that you can win, but I quite like just the simple move bishop to d4. We're stopping this pawn from promoting. Bear in mind the knight and the bishop and the king, if we're able to round up all of these pawns, which you should be able to do, then this is a theoretical win. So you've got the knights and the bishop doing the checkmate at the end. So going back, still very difficult though, so I will say it is a very difficult. So going back, one interesting solution though is the move f4, and this throws a bit of a spanner in the works, shall we say, because now if we make the mistake here of capturing this pawn with our bishop, then this is actually a failed solution. The reason why is we no longer have this square available for our knight. So now the king can take on h5, and after we take this pawn, there's a bit of a problem for white here. This pawn is going to promote on b1, so after b2, there's no way to stop this pawn from getting to b1, and then you've got a queen to deal with, and it's going to be very complicated, but the engine says, black should win this position. The queen is more powerful than the two minor pieces here. So, going back, so f4, very interesting move. It makes things a little bit complicated. So now we have to play the move knight takes here on f4. And the whole idea of this is that we can still simultaneously stop both promotions of these pawns. But you might be quite surprised with that, as you'll see in a minute. So after, let's say, g1, we promote to a queen. Bishop takes on g1. Now the move b2. It looks as though, well, black's going to promote in this particular position, but there is now an absolutely fantastic move here that white can play here to win this study. And that is the move bishop to c5. Very clever. So if, let's say, the pawn just promotes here, goes, yep, I've got a queen, I'm going to win this position, well, he's going to be pleasantly surprised after the move bishop to f8. This is checkmate, would you believe it? Look at all these squares. It's all being protected by all of white's pieces. And this queen, it doesn't matter that he's got a queen because he's getting checkmated here. So very clever. So that move doesn't work. But what about king to g7? This looks pretty good. It looks as though we're covering this f8 checkmating idea. Well, in this position, we can now play the move bishop to d4 check. And it looks as though we're picking up the pawn, but black has got one more trick in this position. If he plays the move king to h6, and then we take this pawn, well, unfortunately, black will put out his hand. Well, I say put out his hand, it's COVID times. He maybe put out his elbow and say, I'm very sorry, this is a draw. And you might be thinking, why is this a draw? Well, it's stalemate. Black has got no legal moves that he can do in this position because white's pieces have totally dominated the king. So this is a nice little trick from black in this position. So going back, instead of this, there is still a winning solution here, and it starts after the move knight to e6. And you are basically baiting black into promoting here on b1. So now if he goes pawn to b1, here we've got the nice solution. We first start with bishop to g7 check, and after king to h5 we now play the move knight to f4 check. And well, there's no other moves that black can do in this position. He has to take this pawn on h4, and now we can play the move bishop to f6 checkmate. Very, very nice solution. So we're basically allowing black to promote, but we then win the game as a result. Going back though, I'll just show you one other solution that black could do in this position. He could take here on h5 as well. This is interesting, but I think actually you can just win with just bishop takes here as well. So the black king has got spaces it can go to here, and this is, I think, quite a simple way to win this particular position. So a very, very nice endgame study. And it was very, very cool looking at all the different ways that black could try and trick white into drawing the position or just downright losing the game. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this particular one as much as I did. If you like these endgame positions, I've got a few more on my channel and a few other very difficult checkmate puzzles as well. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.